Blog Talk Radio.
Franchise pros, Stan the Man, Paul Segreto, Badlands, baby. Franchising today, sustainable growth through sensible franchising. Franchise today, sustainable growth through sensible franchising. Franchise today, franchising today, franchising today, yeah.
Hello, everyone in the franchise world. My name is Paul Segreto, and this is Franchise Today. Today is Wednesday, October 11th, 2017, and normally and typically I am joined by my co-host Stan Friedman. Unfortunately, Stan is not with us today as he is with many other franchise professionals at Franchise Update Leadership and Development Conference in the great city of Buckhead, Georgia. I look forward to Stan returning with us next week so that we can discuss some about the inner workings of this year's conference and some of the revelations that may come out of it. So I want to thank last week's guest, Sam Ballas, the CEO at East Coast Wings and Grill, in a show that we aptly titled EBITDA, the most powerful acronym in franchising. And if you've yet to listen to that episode, please make sure to do so because it is just chock full of information, especially you emerging brands out there. Make sure you really heed Sam's advice. Great stuff. Some things going on in the franchise world. I want to mention, of course, the Leadership and Development Conference. Look forward to Stan letting us know what some new things that came about in that conference next week. Also, we have an emerging franchisor conference through the IFA, which takes place November 6th through 8th in Phoenix. It's designed for franchisors looking to take their brands to the next level, and also you can get up to 600 or get 600 CFE credits. October 17th, next Tuesday, look for the IFA Wednesday Wise webinar, Developing an Effective Diversity Strategy. I know Stan is going to be very much interested in that, as well as some particular point in the news today. Pyology got an investment from an NBA star, and of course, that's Kevin Durant of the Golden State Warriors, who invested in this pizza brand. And, of course, Stan being very much involved in the Professional Athletes Franchise Initiative. I look forward to some of his input next week. Well, today we've got a very special guest who's 5 hours away from me time zone-wise, and today's conversation is going to be an opportunity to spread aloha. And there's a quote by Eddie Flores, the founder and CEO of L&L Hawaiian Barbecue. And he said, we're working for franchisees, so we make sure to take good care of them. And I really think that just epitomizes the culture at this great, iconic brand. So today's guest is Bryan Andaya, the Chief Operating Officer at L&L Hawaiian Barbecue. Bryan, welcome to Franchise Today.
How are you doing, everybody, today? And my pleasure to be a guest on the show here with Paul. Aloha, as we would say here in the 50th state.
Yeah, aloha for sure. And it's great having you in, and we're super honored that you're here today, considering it's 6 a.m. in Hawaii right now. So we really do appreciate you being with us today. And for full transparency, I always like to let our listening audience know if we're talking with one of our clients. And, of course, L&L Hawaiian Barbecue is a client of Franchise Foundry, and one that I am very, very proud to be working with. Such a great, iconic brand with such a storied past. It's really exciting. So, Bryan, the first thing I'd like to do is talk about you, the individual. Take us back as far as you want. But, like we say on the show, nobody really wakes up one day at the age of 10 or 12 or even 20 or 25 and say, you know what, I really want to get involved in franchising. So tell us a little bit about your journey and how you wound up where you are today.
Yeah, sure, Paul. I mean, you're definitely right. I didn't wake up and just say, hey, I'm going to do franchising. It's actually a term that, came about rather late in my career. I am the son of, or only child of, an immigrant family. And so, growing up, times were really tough. And basically, the direction I was steered was being a professional, getting an education, and getting a good job and, making better for yourself. And that's what I did, or what I tried to do. I became an attorney. I ended up practicing law for, about 5 or 6 years. But I was really, really fortunate, Paul, to meet different people in my career who kind of helped me along the way. So one of the people that I met first year practicing law was the founder of L&L, Eddie Flores, or co-founder of L&L, Eddie Flores, and I basically did a case for him. He had an issue, a labor law issue, which I specialized in. I handled that matter, and it was one of those things. I was like a first-year associate at a law firm, and I basically told, the founder of L&L, said, hey, you're wrong. You're doing this completely wrong, and if we go to court, we will likely lose. So I think you should settle. And of course, that's something that's really hard to swallow for most. I mean, L&L that was the boom stage of L&L. They were on the cusp of coming to the mainland. They were very successful already here in Hawaii. They had developed already a reputation. I mean, even I was a fan of their chicken katsu, breaded chicken plate, and it was a tough thing for him to swallow. But in the end, he took the advice, and that developed the trust, and practiced for another 5 or 6 years at the firm, doing a lot of L&L's legal work, although not exclusively. And one day, Eddie Flores, the CEO, asked me, "Hey, do you want to be my COO and help me run the company?" I'm like, what's a COO? What does that do? I have no idea what that is. I mean, I'm really happy, content actually with my law practice. I'm fairly successful at it. I, enjoy it. I'm not sure about this. But long story short, basically, what franchising represents is that, as a professional, as a legal professional, your worth, your value is measured in terms of time. To the tenths of the hour is the way we used to bill. And there's only so much time in the day. And you can work like a dog, but again, there's only so much time in the day. So the capacity for earning, the capacity to build wealth is limited. Whereas with franchising, you can have an infinite number of people that you work with, and all of them are helping you and helping themselves, make a living, establish a fortune, and there's no limit, almost no limit as to how much you can sell or your value. Your value is determined by the customers, and there could be millions of them if you're successful. And that's basically a long story short, in terms of how I got to franchising. And it's been an incredible ride. It's taken me to places I'd never thought I'd go to, especially in sales. When people say sales, or we should say development, they don't teach you that stuff in law school. It's so it's been incredible. I've learned a lot, but probably the most gratifying aspect of my position is the relationships I've made with our people. And people ask me what business we're in. Some people say, oh yeah, we're in the franchising business. Oh, we're in the food business. Oh, we're in the restaurant business. Well, I think we're in the people business, and like I said, the most gratifying thing is the people, our franchisees out there, hardworking, building the brand, spreading the Aloha, spreading the culture of the islands. So yeah, it's been quite incredible.
Yeah, it has, and you've been I know in the short time we've been working together, you've been a great student of franchising, and I think you'll be quite successful for many years to come as long as you continue to have that type of mindset about people and certainly about learning all you can. So I'd like to talk some about the brand itself and how it started. And I know that back in 1976 that Mr. Flores bought a small building that formerly housed a retail outlet for L&L Dairy in Honolulu. He kept the L&L part of the name and remodeled the building as a small walk-up restaurant, actually for his mother to operate. And, of course, that was the first location of what was then known as L&L Drive-In Chain that specialized in the plate lunch. So explain to our audience what is basically the core of L&L Hawaiian Barbecue and its other brands about the plate lunch and the culture behind it and what it means.
Yeah, sure, Paul. And I have to say that that history, that brief history of how L&L got started that you just gave is just spot on. I'm not sure. I don't know that we've talked about it in that detail previously, but that's spot on. Our founder bought the restaurant for his mother. His mother is from Hong Kong. He's an immigrant as well, and bought the restaurant for his mother to basically give her a job because she liked running restaurants. That's what she did, what she wanted to do, and it just kind of became a overnight success. And one thing led to another. Next thing you know, they started franchising. But going back to the concept of L&L and what it's about and what we serve, it basically boils down to what's traditionally coined here in the islands as the plate lunch. It's quite a misnomer because it's definitely not only for lunch, and it's not always in a plate. A lot of times it's in a lunch box or a bento container, so it's not always on an actual plate. But it's a term that's had become popular here in Hawaii because of all of the different ethnic groups that comprise the population of the islands. Most of them from Asia, but you also have, you had it's basically a melting pot of missionaries from New England, the Portuguese from Portugal who were recruited here to be plantation lunas or bosses. And then you had different waves of immigrants from Asia that were recruited to work on the sugar plantations and pineapple fields in the island, starting out with China, and then Japan, and then the Philippines, and then Korea, and then Micronesia. And all of that blended with the native Hawaiian population here, which has its origin, and they have their origins in Polynesia. So really it's a melting pot of all of these, people from around the world. And what they did when they worked at the plantation and pineapple fields was that they shared food amongst each other. They said, hey, try some of this, try some of that. Oh, that looks interesting. What is that? And therein, after many, many decades, evolved this island cuisine. And the term that was coined was plate lunch. And so the plate lunch is basically some starch, most usually white rice, but more recently you start seeing things like brown rice and quinoa, and then some sort of salad for the hardy people in the fields. They supplement their starch offering, rice, for example, with macaroni salad. And if you've never had macaroni salad, it's kind of like potato salad made with macaroni. Some people mix, that salad, but that's been kind of a unique item, I think, for the plate lunch and for L&L. And then, of course, you got your protein. A lot of the protein is Asian-based, so you have a lot of soy sauce marinades, a lot of Asian flavors, but you also got some Polynesian flavors that we have, very similar to the pulled pork from the mainland. And there you have it. It's basically L&L on a plate and served with Aloha.
Yep, absolutely. And the plate lunch, obviously can include all kinds of protein: fish, shrimp, chicken, pork, beef. And some of the things I read was that, these lunch wagons and small cafes basically had been popping up for years in Hawaii to cater to those hardworking blue-collar workers across the islands. And, of course, the combination of calories and protein and starch was to give them enough energy to last throughout the day, working outside underneath the hot tropical sun. And, of course, the growth of the brand, took us through Hawaii, where you had many, many locations, and it wasn't until the late 90s that L&L decided to branch out to the mainland. And an interesting story that I had read about it was that Eddie had noticed that a former employee was doing fairly well selling Hawaiian-style plate lunches in the San Francisco Bay Area, and even though it was not in an ideal location. And so once he understood that it was a possibility to sell those Hawaiian-style plate lunches in California, the rest, as they say, is history, as he opened up the first L&L location on the mainland just a few months later in October. But I want to back up a second while the brand was still growing in Hawaii, because unlike a lot of brands that offer the franchise opportunity out to the general public, Eddie was actually rewarding exceptional employees with the opportunity to own their own business. And I imagine some of that, just kind of resonates with the culture of the brand. Explain a little bit about, Eddie's philosophy behind, taking care of his employees for exceptional work.
Yeah, so part of our culture here at L&L is that entrepreneurial spirit. You already know a little bit about the background of our state, and it has a lot of plantation roots. I think that at some point people wanted to do bigger and better and wanted to own their own business. And that's kind of a natural progression, I think, for many people. So here at L&L, a lot of our franchisees today are former employees. They start out as cooks or cashiers. They work really hard, and they see the potential. They see the potential of, hey, I'm making all this food, and I'm seeing people just keep coming in, and we're doing a good business, And so rather than, keep them, so to speak, in their place and say, okay, yeah, you're going to, we'll throw you a bone or so, we'll give you a raise here, we'll give you a bonus there, a lot of times we'll offer them the opportunity. Hey, have you ever thought of running your own business, having your own place like this somewhere? And it kind of gets them thinking. And, they see the opportunity and they say, yeah, well, teach me how to do it. I know how to cook, or, hey, I'm good with people in the front. I know a lot of the customers. Teach me the rest of the business. And what that does is that it offers that opportunity. And for the existing operator of that location, what it does is it frees them up. Because as an owner-operator, eventually you don't want to be stuck behind in the hot kitchen all the time. And so when you have someone reliable, there's a number of things you can do. You can offer them some ownership, some partnership shares, or you can partner with them for a second, third, fourth, fifth location. And again, it's all about the people. Without the franchisees, without the people in the restaurants, there is no franchise. Those people have to carry on the system, implement the system in a different location under different circumstances, all while preserving the integrity of the plate lunch and the Aloha spirit.
Yeah, and what I found really unique, unlike a typical franchise organization that grows through a local area and goes across the United States, it seemed that Eddie, and again for transparency, I've never had a chance to meet Eddie, and I look forward to doing so in the future, because he has, from what I've read and what I've heard from you, Bryan, is just an unbelievable entrepreneurial spirit, but a great vision, because as he decided to look at California as the first expansion behind the mainland. And since Californians had different expectations on the type of foods that he usually served at an eating establishment that are called drive-ins, because at that point it was L&L Hawaiian drive-ins. Californians thought about drive-ins as like Bob's Big Boy or something like that. So he decided and made a very key decision, I think, in actually changing the name of the L&L locations on the mainland to L&L Hawaiian Barbecue to strengthen the chain's association to Hawaiian cuisine, and actually in changing it stayed back to the core of the business. I think that was actually a brilliant move without losing, brand identity. And, of course, as we've had conversations, now as the brand is looking to expand east of the Rocky Mountains, there's additional confusion with barbecue, and I know there's the rollout now of L&L Hawaiian Grill. So it's that type of entrepreneurial vision that I think is behind the core of the brand. But I think it also goes a step further. I mean, with solid unit economics and very decisive decision making. I know there's been some parts of the country where it just doesn't resonate, and the brand was quick to pull out of those markets in order to make sure that the brand integrity remained, and looked at the other parts of the country where the brand can flourish. From a consumer standpoint, tell us a little bit about, now we're talking about the mainland, we're talking about any town, USA. I know there are successful locations now in Clarksville and Franklin, Tennessee. What is the consumer, what can the consumer expect when they walk into an L&L Hawaiian location restaurant?
Well, for the consumer, when they see, if they've been to Hawaii at any time at all, or have any connections to Hawaii, so for example, military servicemen or service people, who have been through the bases here, they'll know instantly. They'll know L&L. We've got 60 locations throughout the state, just in the state of Hawaii here. So we've got really good market penetration here at home, and so they'll know exactly what a plate lunch is, and what L&L stands for. For the rest of the people, which is really the most amazing to me when I walk into someplace like Franklin, Tennessee, and go there and see people who have no connection to Hawaii, maybe never been to Hawaii, maybe they just their only exposure to Hawaii is Hawaii 5-0 or Magnum PI, and they're there, to experience what what Hawaiian food is all about. Now, this is where it gets tricky. In places like California, Nevada, Washington State, throughout the West Coast, where residents there often frequently vacation to Hawaii or have people that they know from Hawaii. If there's a large Hawaii, former Hawaii expats living in a particular area, they'll know what L&L is. They'll know what Hawaiian food is, what a plate lunch is. It gets a little bit more tricky as you move further east, and that's where I think we were very quick to adjust. We were quick to adjust when we first came to the mainland, leveraging Hawaii and Hawaiian as a brand, because it is a brand. It stands for a lot of great things. We're quick to leverage that. And then now, as we move further east, we will continue to leverage the Hawaiian brand and continue to use L&L. But now, I don't think there's need at this point to have a further descriptor, whether it be barbecue, grill. I think that it's time. I think the market is right, where Asian food, is becoming a lot more popular, a lot more mainstream, a lot more relatable. So what you'll probably see is you'll see the descriptor barbecue being dropped, slowly dropped and phased out as we move forward. It is a misnomer. There is really no such thing as Hawaiian barbecue. It's basically the closest thing would be Asian barbecue, Korean barbecue. That would probably be the closest thing to barbecue. So yeah, that's all about our culture here at L&L. Very quick to pivot. We can respond to different market situations. And when you talk about pulling out of a market, it's one of those, you go into a market, you do a test, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and you reassess. Sometimes for example, you don't have the right demographic, or sometimes you might be before your time. For example, when we tried to open in East Lansing, Michigan, back in the late 90s, I think at that time, and I know because I went to college several years before that, I think the concept of white rice and Asian food and sushi, that was still pretty foreign to a lot of people who haven't traveled. Today, it's the coolest thing. It's the coolest thing, and even like newer Hawaiian concepts like poke, which is raw fish. I mean, there was a time when people would be, people from any town in USA would be, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about poke.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not sure about Hawaiian food.
Yeah.
So I think the market has evolved, and I think we're on the cusp to again reassess, readjust. I mean, we're doing very well. Our units, for the most part, are doing very, very well. But yeah, that's pretty much what the consumer can expect. They go in, they're greeted by this laid back island kind of vibe. If they've been to Hawaii before, it'll transport them back to that experience. If they've never been to Hawaii before, they'll see the iconic Diamond Head and Aloha Tower, and we try to train our staff.
Kind of a great escape for certain. I've had the pleasure of being at several of the locations and really enjoyed the food and the experience. And Bryan, we're going to go to a mid-show break, but before we do, I'd like to tell our audience, kind of as a segue into the next section that we're going to talk about, which of course is the franchise itself. But L&L Hawaiian's success has earned the company many awards and continued rankings in various local and national magazines. Actually, it was named one of the 50 regional powerhouse chains by Nation's Restaurant News. It was also ranked number 314 out of America's top 400 restaurant chains by Restaurant and Institutions magazine. Additionally, Restaurant Business magazine ranked it number 15 of its top 50 growth chains in the nation, and Entrepreneur magazine has ranked the parent company L&L franchise at number 165 out of the top 500, and then of course that was over some different years. You're listening to Franchise Today. I'm Paul Segreto, and I'm talking today with Bryan Andaya, Chief Operating Officer of the iconic brand L&L Hawaiian Barbecue. Franchise Today is brought to you by the Franchise Foundry, where they've been bringing emerging brands to market for more than 30 years. The Foundry fosters healthy, sustainable growth for their clients, the kind that comes from experience. The Franchise Foundry provides both coaching and consulting, a hybrid approach that delivers more effective solutions for both the franchisor's corporate team as well as for their franchisees. The Franchise Foundry team is rich in practical, hands-on experience and expertise with general business management, operational and change management, digital marketing, and, of course, franchise recruitment and development. Plus, the Foundry team can also assist with creating roadmaps for potential mergers and acquisitions and provide the guidance needed to navigate them. Learn more about Franchise Foundry, along with their expanding list of clients, at www.franchisefoundry.com. And Franchise Today is also brought to you by FRM Solutions, offering best-in-class CRM and document management software designed specifically for franchising. FRM empowers real-time business intelligence, communication, and collaboration between all members of the franchisor team and prospective as well as existing franchisees. This enables you to simply and seamlessly track, access, and manage all messages to and from prospective and existing franchisees, including text. Legal and compliance is simplified as well, with FRM's document management, and even site visits can be digitally facilitated and scored with FRM. Make today the day you give FRM a look and assure that all your candidate and franchisee correspondence, including text messages, are being permanently tracked and stored in candidate and franchisee records. FRM even provides state-of-the-art digital experiences for your prospective franchisees, replacing old-style virtual brochures. No long-term contracts, multiple upgrades each year at no additional cost, no excuses, just solutions on the web at frmsolutions.com. So, Bryan, let's shift gears a little bit, as I said, into the franchise space. And, of course, the brand came onto the mainland in the late 90s, and there's been a great wave of franchise growth from Southern California all the way up into Alaska. Tell us a little bit about the franchisees in that part of the country, because as you and I have discussed previously, it's not the typical, franchise candidate that gets into a franchise opportunity, and specifically a food service opportunity, where they're looking at, developing 3 to 5 or 10 units. What does the franchisee makeup look like on the West Coast?
Here on the West Coast, Paul, many of them are, they got 1, 2 units, maybe 3 units sometimes, but they're primarily owner operators, they do very well. And I suppose I can talk about this because it is in our FDD. But for example, we've got about 20% of our units are over the 1 million market sales a year, and so even if you have a single unit, if you have one of those units, I mean you're doing very well for yourself. And
Sure.
Like I said, a lot of these franchisees, a lot of them have immigrant backgrounds. They've got immigrant backgrounds. So for them, it's the most that they've ever made in their entire life. And they work hard, and what ends up happening a lot of times is they send their kids to the best schools. Their kids become professionals just like me, and of course the restaurant is not the place is not the most glamorous place. So that's kind of the story there on the West Coast. Certainly, I think we are ripe. All the different lessons that we've learned to go more to a multi-unit kind of operation. And again, it's all about the people at that point.
Now, at some point, Eddie took on a business partner that's been instrumental in actually, putting his money where his mouth is, so to speak, and has actually developed units in the Bay Area and up into Seattle, which I think is a testament to the brand itself. Anytime the owners, put their own money into operating units, that just, kind of just reinforces the brand itself. And as the brand, continues to grow, I know that there are, obviously greater plans and also ways to become, more mainstream with other franchise opportunities because you're starting to get into a more competitive space. So for this future wave of franchisees that we refer to as at this point as east of the Rockies, what does a day in the life of a franchisee look like, and what can they expect from the corporate office in the way of support?
Oh yes, Paul. So first and foremost, we support our franchisees and treat them as business partners, 110%. I mean, whatever they need, whatever we can do to make them successful, is our number one priority, our singular focus. Because we know how important that relationship is, and that if they're successful, we're successful, and we're all successful. So actually, Johnson Cam, who you referred to earlier as Eddie's business partner, came on very, very early. So Mr. Cam is an operations guy. He is the guy, the mastermind behind L&L's actual operations, including a lot of the recipes and the operational procedures in creating the food that we serve. So Eddie bowed out of the business for a little while Johnson Cam perfected those recipes and those operations. But you're definitely right. Johnson did eventually open a lot in the Bay Area, opened many stores in Washington. I think between he and his children and maybe some extended family, they have about 30 stores just among that family, 30, maybe 40 stores in that family. And so day in the life of a franchisee east of the Rockies who we are hoping to have, more of a multi-unit kind of approach to things, I think goes back down to the people. So if you're a multi-unit franchisee, I can imagine that your day probably would start off by looking at the operational performance from the previous day or the previous week, or at some point have a periodic review of the operational metrics, an analysis of that, and then communicating with the leadership of each of those units or those areas where the franchisee has the rights to L&L. And they would then, keep in close contact, monitor all the aspects of the operations from employment retention, recruitment, of course, sales, cost of goods sold, everything like that. And of course, when there's time, or actually, they should be carving out time, looking at future opportunities. Where's the next location? What locations indicate that more locations are feasible in a certain area? I mean, things like that. But really, the best franchisees are the ones, and even the multi-unit ones. And we actually have several multi-unit franchisees. The very best ones make it a point to get into the stores. And again, it's all about the people. And this time, it's of course talking to the franchisees and their team and their managers and their staff. But now talking to the customers, the end users, our bosses, the ultimate bosses of all of us. Say, hey, how's it going?
Sure.
And the best ones are the ones that will develop relationship with their customers. They'll know them by name. Hey, Harry, how you doing today? Hey, I think it's your birthday, right? Hey, have one on me. I mean, you've got a customer forever. And we have,
sure.
I'm very proud to say we have many franchisees, both single unit and multi-unit, that are like that.
Sure, and I know the culture shines through just in what I've seen at several locations. That's different than a typical QSR type of restaurant. And I know over the years there have been some challenges in the supply chain because you have a lot of specialized product. But I'm glad to hear that as the brand continues to grow throughout the United States and getting into key hubs, those challenges are becoming fewer and far between. Tell us a little bit about the franchisee training experience. I mean, obviously beyond the luster of flying out to Hawaii and visiting your headquarters, it's really roll up your sleeves and really get to understand the back end of the operation. As brief as you can, give us a little bit of insight into what they actually do with the chefs and in that back of the house type of training.
Yeah, so our training focuses on making sure that you as a franchisee can survive, and that you have the knowledge and the skills to survive and to prosper in any environment. So for a lot of you hit the nail on the head. We have a lot of specialized product, especially being with the food being, primarily from Hawaii. It's not a lot of products that are specialized, but there are a few products. And again, it's that thing of evolution. 20 years ago, you'd be hard pressed to find a broadline distributor that carries, the right type of soy sauce. Now these broadline distributors carry 4, 5, 6 different type of brands, and one of them is the one that we use. But the training focuses really on ensuring that the operator is equipped and has the actual experience to run a location. Because you never want to leave an operator without the knowledge and say, hey, my head cook just quit on me. What am I going to do? We want them to be able to manage, different challenges if it comes to those kinds of challenges. But it's a lot of definitely roll up your sleeves, get down and dirty, be part of the crew, and really, again, it goes back to the people, the leaders that are able to, from time to time, to roll up their sleeves and develop that camaraderie in the crew, to go back there and help out, even if it's just for a few minutes, goes a long way. So yeah, a lot of our training, not solely, of course. There's a lot of different aspects to our training, but a lot of it is focused in the back of the house, which is really where it happens. That's where your product is made. That's where the money is made.
Sure. So there's no way this brand could grow the way it is without having leadership with that roll up your sleeves type of mentality. And of course, I'm talking Eddie Flores, the founder and CEO of L&L Hawaiian, who I just read has been named the Career Achievement Honoree for Pacific Business News 2017 Business Leadership Hawaii Awards. Great quote in here. It says, despite the challenging nature of the restaurant industry in Hawaii, L&L's 60 Hawaii locations have all survived. Certainly a testament to Flores' stewardship. I mean, just a phenomenal, track record, bar none. But also, Mr. Flores really gives a lot back to his community. And again, I think that's just testament to his, commitment to people. And I had read that he had, let's see here, if I just want to make sure I get this right, he had made several donations to the local university, continues to contribute to the Hawaii economy. Tell us a little bit about working for that type of individuals and what is it like to work with somebody like that has basically a 360-degree view of everything around him.
Paul, in one short word, I would say it's inspirational. He provides inspiration for me, and as long as I've known him, as long as I've worked at L&L and now a shareholder at L&L, continues to inspire, to reach new heights, to look around the corner, to be able to think in transformational terms. I think that's probably the greatest gift that he's given to me, or that anyone's given to me, in terms of being successful and having a fulfilling career. It's not just about, for us at L&L, it's not just about the bottom line. It's not just about return on investment and trying to squeeze the different pennies out of different profit centers. It's not about that. For us, it's more than that. It's taking a really broad view of starts again with our franchisees, making sure that they're successful. And sometimes being successful doesn't only mean being financially successful or being successful in business, but sometimes being successful also means having that fulfillment, having the franchisees feel appreciated and feel that they're part of something bigger, not just okay, they're generating profit for themselves, yeah, sure, and they're generating profit for us. It's not just that. It's about being part of the mission, being part of what we're about. And Aloha is a very deep and complex term, but basically what it means is breath of life, and having our franchisees and part of the training again that happens here in Hawaii is really getting the trainees, the franchisees, to experience and to learn about that sense of aloha, that caring for your customers, caring for your staff. I mean, genuinely caring for your customers and your staff and the community in which you operate. And I think if you go back to that type of philosophy, I think you can never go wrong, because it'll reflect in your people, and your people will work, and the product that they produce will be a great reflection, which will then resonate with the customer, who will then be loyal customers. So I think working for Eddie, I think that's what I've learned.
Yeah, and certainly with his generosity with recent donations of $1,500,000 into the University of Hawaii system is testament to giving back. And some interesting things that I read about Eddie, which I want to bring up today, because the American dream is bigger and larger than ever, with more and more immigrants coming into the United States, looking for ways to better themselves, provide for their family, and of course to ultimately leave a legacy. In an article that I had read in Hawaii Business, the question asked of Eddie was, what's the recipe for success? And I found this really interesting, because Eddie had said he doesn't know what his customer demographics are, and his research involves scouting a location more than actually reading an analytical report. He said, laughingly, I just jumped into the restaurant business. I didn't know how to do it. I just did it, and now I think I'm an expert. He says he took risks experimenting with new items such as ramen burgers and garlic shrimp, and supporting immigrants as franchisees. And I think this is, just a testament to the success. He says we target them because working any place they make minimum wage. Here they can own a restaurant and making lots of money. But he said he understands that working with immigrants means there's a language barrier and cultural differences, but there are seldom few people who work as hard. We found out if you have a mom and pop running a restaurant, your success rate is almost quadruple, because you've got the whole family running it. And in return, that's where he came up and said that he and his company work hard to support them. We're working for franchisees, so we always make sure to take good care of them. And I think that's just the cornerstone of this iconic brand. And I'm just happy to be to working with you, but I'm very happy today about you sharing some of this with us, and an opportunity to get L&L Hawaiian on the on the forefront of people's minds of looking at the next great opportunity here on the mainland. Before we run out of time, Bryan, do you have anything else you would like to add, and also let people know how they can best learn about this exciting, unique franchise opportunity?
Yeah, Paul, the best way, of course, would be to give you a call. That would probably be the best single way. But also for general information, I'll visit our website at www.Hawaiian Barbecue, spelled with a C, .com. So that's, again,
absolutely.
Hawaiian Barbecue with a C.com. Or just give me a call. Our office number is 808-951-9888. Again, 951-9888. Area code is 808.
Absolutely. Great stuff, Bryan. I appreciate you being with us as the sun is coming up on the beautiful islands of Hawaii. And I really appreciate the time. And please express our sense of gratitude to Mr. Flores and the rest of the staff at L&L Hawaiian Barbecue. Thank you again.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Aloha.
Aloha. Well, that's another segment of Franchise Today. Next week, of course, we'll be back with Stan Friedman, who will kind of bring us up to date on everything that was happening in the great state of Georgia and specifically at the Leadership and Development Conference. Until next week, my name is Paul Segreto, wishing you the best, the very best in this great, great thing we call franchising. And Franchise Today is out.
Franchise pros, Stan the man, Paul Segreto. Time to show you the way of franchising today. Hey, do you possess the spirit of an entrepreneur? Or lay your business plan down like a rug or a floor? Or maybe you have a dream of opening a chain of delis, or whatever passion lights that pilot light under your belly. Or do you want to start a business, fam, using the proven trademark from another brand? And grow together and expand like a rage of fire, from a single to a multi-unit empire. Well, pay attention to this podcast that you hear and streaming in HD, so fine-tune both of your ears. And Stan and Paul lays down the law. Whether you want to be a franchisee or a franchisor, it's all about sustainable growth, the sensible franchising, proven concepts, the smart enterprising. So use your left and right side of your brain and absorb this knowledge here, franchising today. Badlands, baby. Franchising today. Sustainable growth, the sensible franchising. Franchise today. Sustainable growth, the sensible franchising. Franchise today. Franchising today. Franchising today. Yeah.
When you're part of a military family, you understand sacrifice and support. At American Public University, we honor your dedication by extending our military tuition savings to your extended family. Parents, spouses, legal partners, siblings, and dependents all qualify for APU's preferred military rate of just $250 per credit hour for undergraduate and master's level programs. American Public University. Value for the whole family. Learn more at apu.apus.edu/military.